Please note that police chases can be dangerous and unpredictable. We do not condone reckless driving or any other illegal activity. Our videos are intended for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Trying to figure out where they're going. No word if they're actually from this area. Leads me to believe, though, if you are navigating LA freeways like this, you're pretty knowledgeable about this area, but you know, one never knows. Again, this is allegedly a stolen vehicle. That is why the LAPD is in pursuit. We know that they were on the west side. It was they were on the eastbound 10. So no word on exactly where law enforcement started this pursuit. But again, they are making their way through the 110, and then they're going through those tunnels. And at one point, they're going to have to decide: are they going to split off and go to the right and stay on the 110, kind of go into the Pasadena area, or if they're going to take a left when it splits and go on to the 5 North. But again, that is what we'll be able to see. And quite a bit of law enforcement were on this suspect as well, as we keep watching live pictures from Air 7. But it looks like they're in that 5 northbound lane as of right now. But again, that can certainly change because this driver has been weaving in and out of traffic, driving on the shoulder. And this is always one of those fears when you see, and now of course I've lost a visual on this driver because I don't see the LAPD lights. But again, this is that area that is very, very congested. So when you go into the 110 to Pasadena area, it tends to be lighter traffic. But if you take there we see there, they ended up taking the 5 North, it looks like, going on to the 5. So we are coming up to the end of our newscast, Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. But again, we're going to stay on top of this live breaking news of this pursuit taking place. Stay with us if you want to continue watching this breaking news. If not, we will see you back here tomorrow night. Have a good evening. Again, keep with us. All right, welcome back once again. We are live streaming this pursuit, a pretty dangerous pursuit, but you see a lot of drivers pulling over. This is happening on the 5 North. Right, this driver just took the on-ramp or the junction to get onto the 5 North from the 110. We know we started in the west side. We know the driver was on the 10 East, and then they made their way through to the 110 North, and now they've made their way to the 5 North, and we know this area is very congested. Amazing, this driver is able to drive on the shoulders, but this originated as a stolen vehicle from Texas. And this is an SUV, and it does have Texas license plates. So you can see that it is a pretty dangerous pursuit. You know, a lot of us know this area. It's very, very heavily traveled, and the 5 North can sort of it's always busy up until usually about 9 o'clock at night. So this driver is making decent speeds. I know we have Sky Map 7, but they're obviously in the flow of traffic. You can see it right there, going about 30 to 40 miles an hour because it is a slow go right here. And I don't believe there's a carpool lane, so it's not like they can pull over and try to get into a car. Yeah, there's no carpool lane. So again, the traffic is pretty light compared to many evenings. And we don't exactly know who the suspects are. We just know that this is a stolen SUV, possibly. It does have Texas license plates. Why the driver does not want to pull over leads you to believe that it most likely is the driver is associated with some sort of crime that has taken place, most likely the SUV being stolen out of Texas. And then they drove it obviously to LA without any problem, I'm sure. And now all of a sudden something triggered or pinged for law enforcement to start following this car. But again, we're on it. It's not really taking any crazy maneuvers right now. Earlier, we saw it through the 110 North, really driving in and out of traffic and having no problem making it through everything. And we saw quite a few LAPD officers Originally, there were quite a few. Now I'm not quite sure. Maybe if Air 7 HD can pull out just a little bit so we can see how many. You can see a pretty long line of emergency police officers, and I'm sure the CHP is well aware of what's going on as well. But this driver's now really cooking. They're driving pretty quickly down right through Silver Lake area, again on the 5 North. And not quite sure if they're going to stay on this. If they're going to have another opportunity to get off on the 210, I think. And looks like they were going to take Glendale Boulevard, but then decided not to, and came quite close to that big rig. But again, a lot of people know this area. They're making their way pretty close to pretty soon by our Glendale studios. So a lot of us know this. We travel this on the daily, and so we know how quickly traffic can build up in this area. But again, this driver seems like they must know this area, because for them to be taking such risk driving these roads, I would think that maybe they know where they're going. But again, that's just a hypothesis. But again, we know the LAPD has been following this car for quite some time. And we do know the CHP is probably very, very much aware of the situation. But when the CHP ends up becoming involved in this pursuit, because they're very well trained as well with pursuits. So no word yet on if the CHP is going to actually get involved. But again, we've been on this pursuit for a while now. It's an alleged stolen vehicle out of Texas. It's a Mercedes-Benz navy blue. We're being told that there are 2 people inside. You can see they're increasing their speeds, but it's because they don't have a lot of traffic in front of them. And again, the call was wanted for a stolen SUV, navy blue, and now we know that there are Texas license plates on this vehicle. But again, as we continue to watch it, you can see Air 7 going. Not sure, sometimes when we get too far away from the vehicles, they're not necessarily clocking the exact speed. But again, it is going faster than the flow of traffic. We know that they are on the 5 North, but again, where they're making their way through Glendale on the 5 North, but where exactly they may end up taking, because they will have another opportunity to get off the freeway somewhat soon. I think they'll see the 134. But again, we're just staying on top of this with the LAPD, really trying to pull over this driver. And you can see people in front of the driver. I was thinking, at what point will the drivers in the fast lane realize that they want to get out of the way of this driver? Ooh, you can see some brake lights being tapped, so maybe some traffic ahead. And we're seeing if that, looks like that the driver of this pursuit is going to want to stay on the 5 and not take the exit to the 134 as they continue to make their way through to, you can see it right there. They're still staying on the 5 North, which then they're going to hit Glendale. And I'm trying to see, just somebody pulled over into the shoulder, which is, it's just dangerous. It's always dangerous when you know that there's a driver that's trying to get away from police. They make sort of unreasonable decisions while they're driving. It puts everyone in danger. And you can see right there, this person is really driving really fast right now. You could see the speedometer is going up and up and up from Sky Map 7. But again, we are lucky to have this feature so we can see exactly where they are. We know they're still in Glendale. They're on the shoulder now, and driving. I mean, is that the carpool lane, Larry? That's our director who I'm asking. Oh, okay. So they're in the carpool lane right there. And, oh, right, it does happen. Yeah, they're going over 100 miles per hour at some points here. So they figured out the carpool lane. They're going to keep on going. And again, at some point, they're either going to they're still on, as we can see, I'm sort of gauging on the 5 North, and they're going through the San Fernando Valley. I have this little thing that obstructs my viewpoint here on my monitor, so sometimes you can't really see it. But anyway, they're still making their way on the Golden State Freeway. They're in the Burbank area, and you can see now the police CHP is now en route, and the CHP seems like they may have really got this driver's attention, because it's really up the ante here on the way that this driver is now maneuvering the car, the speeds that this driver's taking. And as many of us know, the CHP, they are very well prepared and trained in these pursuits. And anyone behind driving, just the normal civilians, they see the CHP, they see the flashing lights. And we know that there's going to be a watch commander who's watching this from above. And there's going to be other CHP officers who are going to be at other points in this drive. So they constantly do like a relay between the CHP drivers. And right now, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like the drivers' headlamps are not being used, but you could see the brake lights. But for a moment there, it looked like their lights are out. But again, I can't really tell because they're braking now quite a bit. And now they're trying to get off. They're taking, is that the San Fernando Boulevard exit? I'm trying to see. It's exit 147B, which says Empire Avenue. So we'll see where this is going. But now they are in the San Fernando Valley taking the surface streets. And yes, their headlights are out. That which always makes it a little challenging for anyone who is a pedestrian, especially when they start going on surface streets, because it just makes it so hard when it's night and you can't tell if there's a car coming. But again, now this is very hard. They're right at San Fernando Boulevard, and boy, this area, now they're taking a right on, I need to kind of Amherst Drive, so we can kind of see where this pursuit is taking place. But again, this is all happening. This has been happening for a while. We know it started on the west side, and we know that the CHP, the warrant was, the want, as we kind of call it in the news business, is that it was for a stolen vehicle out of Texas. And this navy blue Mercedes-Benz SUV does have Texas license plates. Oh, but now they're going through Burbank Boulevard by the Burbank Center, and they're navigating these streets very well. We're not quite sure who the suspects are. We're told that there are at least 2 people inside the vehicle. They may have thrown something out of that vehicle when they were on the 10 East, making their way to the 110. They did make their way to the 110 North, winding their way through downtown, really speeding through and weaving in and out of traffic in downtown. And then they made the choice to take the 5 North, and now we see where they are. They are in Burbank. They're on surface streets. We know the CHP got involved, but now at this point, we're going to have to start seeing which jurisdiction will start. Oh, you know, look at how quickly this person, kind of like a jackrabbit, will slow down, go fast, makes you kind of believe that maybe they are unsure of their surroundings. And you can see the lights, which are obviously illuminating this area, so you can see when the police are behind them. But again, you see a lot of people walking around. That makes it very dangerous for a pursuit, especially when it starts to go again on surface streets. But again, you can take a look. We're right at the Burbank Center. A lot of us know this area. It's got restaurants, it's got shops, it has, you know, you see the AMC movie theater. Okay, so right there, they're turning right there by the Burbank Center. You could see it again, I think. Yeah, you saw it again, that navy blue Mercedes-Benz SUV that's suspected to be stolen out of Texas. They do have Texas license plates. They just made a right turn right there. As you can see, they might be getting back on the freeway again, which would, I think it is the 5 North again. They're getting back on the 5 North freeway. I don't know if that's a relief or not, but it always seems like a relief when you see a pursuit suspect. But when they're going almost 95 miles an hour, there's always a concern, especially for the drivers in front of them. They don't see this Mercedes-Benz behind them because the lights are out, which is really dangerous for anyone who is driving because you can't see them and then they just appear. But you will be able to see the night sun from either the helicopter if it's showing that right on top of that SUV, or you can see by the helicopter presence and by, I'm sure, a long line of police vehicles, either led by the CHP or by the LAPD, because now we know both jurisdictions have been involved in this pursuit. But again, when we got onto this, it was on the 10 East, making its way from the west side, and then they had to get to the 110 North, which then led them through to the 5 North, which then we saw them get off in Glendale and Burbank, and now back onto the Golden State Freeway. So again, we're watching this. The CHP is right behind them. We will see at some point, is this car going to run out of gas? Are they going to pull over? Because it doesn't look like they have any intention of pulling over. But and they're high beaming people to try to get them to move, which of course, any person who high beams me makes me nervous. So I'm sure a lot of people are trying to give them some space. But again, when you see the CHP is so close behind them. So earlier, the LAPD took a less pressuring approach. They were pretty far behind, but now the CHP is really close, and certainly letting this driver know they want them to pull over, and this driver is not going to do it. But again, we're now in the city of Sun Valley, so making their way through the valley now, kind of close as they use the shoulder as a passing lane, which is really dangerous because you never know how big these shoulders are. You know, sometimes they narrow within a flash. So we'll see where this car is going to end up going. But again, they are in Sun Valley with their lights out, which makes it very, very hard. And you never know if they know that their lights are out, because if this is a car that's kind of unfamiliar to them, they may not know how to turn on the lights. One never knows why they are driving without their lights on. But again, a lot of other drivers taking them by surprise. But when you see all those CHP officers, you know that you're going to have to start moving to the right and try to figure out what exactly is happening behind you. But I do always feel sorry for the drivers who are innocent, and hopefully they don't get injured or get scared or rattled while they see a pursuit taking place behind them. But again, you can see they're in Sun Valley. That's very odd. Is that a sheriff's? Maybe not a sheriff. It does look like one of those sheriff buses, which always is kind of unusual. But if you drive a lot, you see those sheriff buses on the roads quite a bit. So again, they're in Sun Valley. They're at the Lancashire Boulevard, Tuxford Street exit, but they are not taking surface streets again. So it looks like they're going to try to stay on the freeway for most of the time. And we do not know if these suspects are actually from Los Angeles or if they stole this vehicle in Texas and they are Texas residents and they just wanted to come to LA and check it out. We don't know why these suspects are in Los Angeles or anything about them. And you can't really see inside the vehicle, as I keep trying to see. There's not a lot of movement. Thank you, Air7, for zooming in. But we can't see if there's any movement or anything, because sometimes you can see the driver or the passengers really animated. But as we really try to go in as close as we can, we do not see any movement. You can see in the sunroof too. So we don't see a lot of movement. Sometimes you'd see these drivers really like on their cell phones, and you could see the cell phone illuminating, or people open up their windows. But we know at some point, possibly around the 10 East at Robertson, they may have thrown something out of the vehicle, but we're not quite sure. We'll be finding that out. But again, this originally person was wanted for stealing this car. Now I'm looking inside the vehicle. You can see them moving around quite a bit, that passenger. It was wanted out of Texas for being a stolen vehicle, and they do have Texas license plates. So again, as they keep making their way through the valley, you can see that night sun by the helicopter, and you can see one person. You can see the one person right there sitting there with their hands on their knees, trying to look around as if I'm trying to see what's in their hand. But again, thank you for highlighting. That's the one person in the passenger seat. As of right now, we know there are at least two people inside this vehicle. But again, it's been reported as a stolen vehicle out of Texas. And again, it does have Texas license plates. And they are still on the I-5, approaching the 170. So we'll see if they're going to take the 170 from the 5 North. But again, one never knows if these people know these freeways or if they have any kind of clue of where they're going. But you can see now they can see their iPhone, or it looks like an iPhone, is illuminated. They look like they're probably trying to look and talk. Maybe they're trying to figure out what to do from here. Or every now and then the law enforcement knows who the suspect is, and then they call the people on their phone. Who knows? Could the people who own this vehicle know who stole their car? We just don't know. But again, it's very clear the suspect, there's no denying that they are being pursued, and we're going to see if they end up pulling over onto surface streets or. But they seem to be staying on the 5 North. They're in ᴅᴜᴇ now, and now we see there's 2 CHP behind them. But again, at 3. So there's several police vehicles behind them. But we'll see what they end up staying. And of course, I keep talking to Larry. We have Larry directing, and we have Katie producing. So when I ask them if they end up staying on these freeways, we're sort of a team here. You hear me, but we have a whole team of people who are watching these pursuits and trying to find out where they originated, what this person is doing. But it looks like they found out how to turn on their lights at least. But again, as we stay on this pursuit, they're going through Mission Hills on the 5 North, and we'll see what they end up doing, because it looks like they might be taking an exit, but that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if there's one. It looks like that. I'm not quite familiar. I don't know the 5 here especially well. Yeah, exactly. It looks like they're taking Chatsworth Drive. Again, Larry and I are kind of doing this in tandem with our producer, Katie, as well. So we're watching this. We're trying to see if this person, yeah, they are still in ᴅᴜᴇ. We're trying to see what they're going to end up doing here as we keep following this pursuit that we've been following for quite some time. We know that this originated from a want. The original want was that it was a stolen vehicle out of Texas, and we see this vehicle. It's a navy blue Mercedes-Benz SUV with Texas license plates. We know there are at least 2 people inside this vehicle. And we know that it may have started on the west side, and that the drivers then ended up taking, what's going to happen here? Oh, that was like kind of cat and mouse right there. We know that this driver seems to know LA fairly well. I know I'm joined by Mark Brown right now. Mark Brown.
Just sat down.
You just sat down, and we've been following this pursuit, Mark, and it's now in Sylmar, and they've been taking surface streets. I guess they turned off their lights and turned on their lights, but the CHP hasn't been involved. And this is an area that I'm not particularly familiar with, but you can see that they're taking these, they're not driving in any way that they know where they're driving. But it started on the 10 East, where we kind of picked it up around Robertson, and they made their way to the 110 North and to the 5, did some surface driving in Burbank. But we know this all originally started as a stolen vehicle out of Texas. They do have Texas license plate. We do see at least 2 people inside this car. And we saw them may have thrown something out of the vehicle, but we're not sure exactly what they may have.
That was on the 10 freeway initially, at the initial part of the pursuit?
Correct.
Where something was thrown out of the window.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we don't know what we're looking at here, except at least a stolen car and 2 people inside, and who knows what they may have been involved with before this chase began. Is it just the stolen car, or could it be something else that they were involved in that could get them in a lot of trouble once they're apprehended?
Yeah, we saw the passenger just a moment ago on the 5 North. We really zoomed into the occupants inside this vehicle. We saw the passenger at first very calm with their hands on their knees, and then suddenly they were on their iPhone. You could see it illuminating. Mm-hmm. I believe it was an iPhone. But they're not highly agitated, and they are weaving in and out of traffic, but they're not taking extremely high speeds because they've been in traffic. So some points, if they can open up, they have gone over 100 miles an hour, but about 104, 105. Mm-hmm. But most of the time they've been in lower numbers than that.
And this is a Mercedes SUV. Yeah. Reported stolen out of Texas. At least the plate came back that way. And clearly something is involving a stolen car here. And so now it seems like they're just kind of making circles here and dodging through traffic. This would seem to be something they like to do before a foot bail, but they're not doing it yet. Traffic is still not cooperating as we pass over North Hubbard Avenue and Truman Street. back in the San Fernando Valley. They've been kind of crisscrossing big chunks of LA, though, right? I mean, it started in the West LA area?
Yeah, it started from where we found out about this. When Air 7 launched to follow this pursuit is when we were seeing that that this pursuit started taking place on the 10 East. And so, but to see them go from the 10 East and then to the 110, they had to navigate quite a bit of traffic, but they started on the west side, and now, you know, they're pretty far away from the west side now.
All right, and so I'm having just gotten on board here. I see the CHP is the lead agency, but are other agencies and is the LAPD also involved in this? The
LAPD was very much involved for majority of this, and then they sort of switched off. I'm going to say, and I'm going to pull in Larry, our director, as well. No, this is going the wrong direction.
The wrong way on Glen Oaks, and yeah, he's looking at these shopping centers. He keeps going through these shopping centers, through these parking lots. I wonder if he's got a plan on when, on perhaps footbailing in a store. We've seen that before, where they get into a shopping mall or a crowded grocery store or something like that, try to blend in. But a lot of forays into big parking lots.
Exactly, but it's only been right here, Mark. When they went through Burbank, they couldn't figure out their footing, so then they got back onto the 5 North. So they were right by the Burbank Center, by the restaurants, by the AMC Theater, and then they went back onto the freeway. So again, they've been kind of moving around, but again, you're right. It does seem like they should want to get out of the vehicle and kind of jump, but they are really going through some residential areas now.
This is trouble. This is trouble.
No kidding. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, these residential streets, they're narrow.
And they don't have their lights on all the time.
Yeah, the lights aren't on, and if you're in this area of Herrick and Beaver Street in Sylmar, just anywhere within about a mile of this area, please stay in your home. Please don't come out onto the street, and keep your doors and windows locked. If you really want to keep an eye on this pursuit, you should keep an eye on it through the ABC7 app, or any of the ways that you watch ABC7 on our streaming channel, our streaming service, because you don't want to be out on the street. There could be an accident. You don't want to have your doors open or unlocked, because they could come into your house trying to get away from the police. And the best way to do it is to just make sure that you're safe as this pursuit continues. The CHP, again, still the lead agency on these surface streets here. This is Bradley Avenue in Sylmar, now kind of circling and going through this neighborhood, and it seems, Colleen, like he slowed down a little bit.
It does, but I also think it's because they're probably not very familiar with this area, and I keep wondering, do they know how to use this car? If this is a stolen SUV, when did they steal this SUV? Was this SUV, it was stolen out of Texas, or was it stolen in Texas, dropped here? And so you just never know the actual chronological chain of events on why these two people are driving the car today in Los Angeles and why they are not pulling over. But they don't seem like they have a clear path to where they want to go, other than just keep driving.
Yeah, luckily slower now. But every time they go through an intersection, there's the potential for cross traffic or pedestrians.
Yeah, and and I constantly think about, kids riding their bikes. It's not super late right now. So this is a time when kids are they're at their sports practices, they're getting out. Some will, it's amazing that this neighborhood's very dark. What I'm noticing is there's not a lot of street lamps here. So, and with the car not having their lights illuminated, it makes it for even more concerning situation.
Right. I'm going to see if I can pull the map up of this area and see if there are any dead-end streets, because that can bring a quick end to a pursuit.
No kidding. But we see the night sun on this car, and but this person, it looks like maybe law enforcement is sort of hanging back, because I don't see, or at least maybe they don't have their lights illuminated to take this driver into custody. But again, it's pretty dark here. They could be in tracking mode to try to keep people, the community safe, and try to lessen the likelihood of this driver really putting the pedal to the metal to go fast, because you can see they are taking this a little slowly, a little more carefully, and this, well, I might have spoken too soon.
And as you say that's the way it always happens. As we say it, Look, he's blowing through a stop sign. Every stop sign he blows through, another potential accident, another potential really bad situation that could happen. As we're on San Fernando Road and Astoria Street in Sylmar. Narrow streets, residential. You see a lot of other cars that are out there on these roads. They're narrow, not a lot of room for passing.
What is happening there? I do wonder, are they trying to figure out how to get back to the freeway? Because if they don't know how to, but he does, there is, I actually don't, I shouldn't say he, because I know that the passenger, I believe, is a male, but the driver, I haven't had a good, we haven't been able to see the driver. But again, like you said, I think they might be trying to find the freeway. They keep going into weird areas. And
they know the freeway's over there, and they can't get to it.
Can't get to it. Got it. And of course, your heart skips a beat when they are in residential areas.
Stopping and foot bail, Truman Street, Hubbard Avenue.
1, 2.
In Sylmar, both
he's
getting
going to get
out.
hit by his car almost.
All right, taking off across the tracks, the Metrolink tracks.
Ooh.
What's there? What's ahead of them? Okay, it's a busy street, Truman Street in Sylmar.
Yeah, and it's just...
And they're just kind of running across the street. He's got a bag of some sort with him. I can't see the night sun. It's very hard to see.
It's still not, it's hard to see. This is not a highly... Trying to hold his pants up when he was running, obviously. And then
and that is a weed store.
Oh, is it?
I believe so. I mean, based on the green cross and the name of the
I didn't
the
see
business.
the green cross.
Yeah, they're
right
going
there.
into a
marijuana
dispensary. At least one of them did.
Yeah, and
don't know where the other one went.
You could see somebody in the other store comes out looking, going, "What on earth is going on here?"
Right.
But again, I mean that leads you to believe there could be danger for whoever is inside this marijuana dispensary. If you have somebody who's trying to get away from the police, and I believe this was the driver.
There he goes.
There he is.
And he's trying to disguise himself. He's all sweaty. Now he's got this white sweatshirt on, gray sweatshirt. He's taking off the dark jacket that he had on when he first got out of the vehicle. One place you don't want to go into if you're a suspect running from the cops is a marijuana dispensary because they all have armed guards.
I was going to say, I think that they are armed, and exactly.
Yeah, there he is. He's there under that tree, trying to hide out from the police, now trying to look all casual and cool, walking away as if they don't, he thinks they might not see him, but all right, he's going to give up. Arms up, giving up right now. That's a CHP officer there, trying to get him to stop. He's not stopping.
Oh, he is now, Mark, which is good. Ooh,
yeah, they're going to tackle him. They're not going to take their chances there. Look at that.
No, and he still fights. He's still fighting. My goodness.
Okay, that's one person. I can't remember now whether that was the passenger or the driver.
I believe that's the driver. That's the driver, and the car was still going, so I thought he was going to get hit by the car. And now the passenger may have gotten away, which would be. I mean, when you have two people there, there's you have more of an opportunity to want to follow the driver.
Yeah, if they ran in different directions.
Yeah, which is
clever. But you see a lot of folks, a lot of units arriving on the scene now, highway patrol vehicles.
Yeah.
Look at all these that are there, and those are all, looks like they're all CHP.
Yeah, so far, at least their uniforms right there. But again, I'm so glad nobody was hurt. I mean, this driver didn't hurt anyone, so that's always a relief. And this did last for quite some time, but again, it looks like this pursuit's over. They're going to obviously check them, see if they have any kind of weapons on them, but
and try to find out what else they may have been involved with. He seemed to have, in addition to that jacket, he had something else around his waist or with him at the time that he bailed out of the vehicle. And that may hold some clues as to whether this was somebody who might have been involved in a burglary, who might have done something else. Are they going to stop the Metrolink right now as they search for that other suspect? Because the train may be coming through, who knows when.
I just don't remember if that other suspect ran to the tracks as well.
I don't think that other suspect did.
I just saw the...
Okay, on the right we've got, that's video on the right from earlier.
But this is just a moments before... Well, no, that's from Sylmar. I'm trying to see. We're going to probably end up trying to get the video of when they both jumped out of the car. But of course, as we know, it's very hard to turn these videos around really quickly. We're all watching this part. But again, We know this might be the very end, Mark, this one on the right side. This might be just about a minute before they actually did bail out of the car. But there's one suspect.
Yep. The attempted changing of the outfit didn't work. It's hard to defeat the night sun.
Yeah.
And very likely, running in there, being pursued with the night sun glaring down on him as he runs into a marijuana dispensary all out of breath. I'm sure that he was not welcome there, or in any retailer, in any establishment. Like, what are you doing here? Are you running from the cops? Maybe there was an admonition to leave, which he took, but he has given up.
Yeah, it's unusual that he took the same way that he came in. But again, he was in a pretty, desolate area. There wasn't a lot of people there. So again, there's the first one.
Okay. First
and
one.
then there's the one that got taken into custody, because the first one has pants.
Yeah, the first one ran across.
But see,
right?
we lose the first one.
Yeah, we lost the first one. We followed this guy with the white socks.
The driver. The driver is the one with the white socks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they just both took off, and maybe one of them is going to get lucky and get away with it, unless the other guy.
We'll find out. I mean, we should know shortly if they have apprehended the second.
I love the little hop, the
little hip hop, skip, and a jump there.
The little hop right there.
Maybe he thought he was going to go shopping in there too, or something. I don't know.
Or maybe thought he was finding safe spot for him to take cover. But again, that's not the place to take cover. But again, it looks like it's coming to an end. We of course are going to stay on top of this.
Okay. And what we're going to see here is when the CHP officers got to him, and then the tackle. They took him down. There was no gentle taking down of this individual. He had been walking away from them while they were shouting orders at him, and whoever was in the lead there elected to take him down to the ground, and that was done.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me as we live stream this pursuit. We're going to have more on Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock, but again, we will bring you